So, if I understood right, you said, I think, that anytime we feel anger, it is because there is an addiction that is not met. What about, for example, as a child, when we were actually trying to express our true nature, our soul, and that was suppressed, and that created anger? Then would it be in that case, for example, that it was not an addiction, but it's actually our soul expression?
Well, if your soul as a child was in a state of love, would you ever revert to anger as an expression of something that's from your soul?
I mean, so the suppression, so if the parent didn't allow that...
So your anger is fear of the feeling of suppression as a child, but you don't know that as a child, obviously, but that's what it is.
And it's not to say, I'm powerful enough to still be myself and establish myself.
Well, that's what the addiction will want, is for you to get angry and feel power, yes.
So if something very unloving like violence is done
ask your
to
real
us,
question. You're really saying, but AJ, what about when a child is righteously angry?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
And I'm saying there's no such thing.
So when processing emotions, in videos you have said that we first need to feel the anger that we have in our soul to get to the underlying grief, for example. So, for example, if someone is...
I'm not suggesting you don't need to feel it. I'm saying it's a construct. Feel it, for sure, but understand that it's a construct done because you're avoiding an addiction. Now, as a child, so let's say I'm a child, and I wanted to do what my soul wants. Now, if I get angry, then it means that I'm in an addiction wanting to do that. See, like when I was a child and I was restricted by my parents in some way or another, I never got angry about it, right? Because I knew if they went around, I could do it. So all I had to do is not be around them and I'd be fine. Does that make sense? Now, the average child, of course, doesn't have that cognizance, doesn't have that recognition, but so instead they try anger first, right? But it's still, why would I try an unloving act in order to be a loving person? The child doesn't know this because the child is not getting educated in that direction. So I understand the child's action. I'm not saying that child's action is not understandable in the circumstance, but it is unloving.
So is it that we need to feel the anger, release it, and then go deeper? Is it still a good thing to do?
Yeah, well, you know, the thing you need to understand about anger is this. You can feel the anger, but at the end of the day, the anger is there because you want power. So unless you can feel the anger, and eventually if you feel it properly, you will realise, all I want is power over my addictions. I want my addictions met. And that's why the anger is there. If you feel it, you will very quickly, like within usually half a minute, realise that's why it's there. If you're sincere about it, you will do that. But if you're not sincere about it, you'll stay angry for days.
Years.
Years. Imagine your husband cheats on you. You being angry about it is an addiction. This is what it looks like in practice. You being angry about your husband cheating on you is an addiction. Why? Because you're trying to get power over the situation. You're trying to get power over what you feel, right?
I think for me, I've had a lot of anger, and it's been very educational, if you like.
About your addictions?
About my addictions, about my demands. So having my anger, so I've had a lot of anger, I've expressed anger, I've experienced anger
and it helps you identify your addictions.
It's helped me understand exactly what Jesus is describing. I felt it in myself. Oh, I want God to change. You know, that's why I'm angry.
Yeah.
Bloody God, you change. I don't want to change here. Or I don't want to have to feel how unjust that was towards me. That's why I'm angry. But I didn't really understand that emotionally about my anger until I accepted that I was angry. And maybe acceptance of my anger was the biggest educational process, because then I could really feel it inside me and feel its motive, if you like. Like it's like the emotion had its own demand.
The addiction driving it.
Yeah, and it helped me understand my addictions a lot.
Yeah.
But it never, it didn't take away my addictions. It didn't take away my demands. That's still something.
Yeah, the purpose of it is to feed them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just helped me feel that those things are there. But I'm still in areas doing work on those demands emotionally, like asking for God's education about that, asking for the morality about that in my prayer, softening to, well, okay, God, you're not changing what is the thing that has to change in me? What is my unloving demand? So, yeah.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense, Hannah?
Yeah.
It does, and I still have a question about the kid, like when they're done like really, like something violent by the parents. There, I still don't understand why their anger would be
Well,
from
the
addiction.
child's having a violent response. Now, the child is uneducated in love, so I can understand its violent response. It hasn't been educated yet in love.
But most children, when violence
but
is
it's still violent.
perpetrated against them, their first instinct is not anger.
No.
Yeah, no.
The first instinct generally is sadness, but
Or their first response is, usually they feel terrible
and then they're not allowed to
sadness.
feel their sadness, and then they get angry.
Yeah.
And again, they get angry because they're not allowed to feel their sadness, and so this whole thing is still exactly the same as if it was for an adult.
Right, okay, yeah, it's not,
Yeah.
it's true.
But
There's
so
a lot
if
that
you
goes
have a
on before.
childlike part of you that feels angry, yes, feel your anger. But I think, I know you're going to find the most power is it'll be informative in this process.
Yeah, it'll tell you
it'll
what your
educate you.
addictions are.
Yeah.
Okay, now I understood that there is this whole process that goes on before the child actually gets to anger.
Yeah.
Is that...
It's very true.
Okay.
You think the child has an experience, it's getting shut down some way or other. It has some grief about it, not allowed to have it. You know, we just said, didn't we, earlier, that grief is like the very worst thing most of us can feel, and particularly as a child, because the parent then feels, I'm a bad parent, my child's crying, not allowed to have, they try and shut down the child, give them a lolly, giving some food, breastfeed them if they're younger. Do whatever you can to stop the child from grieving, is the general feeling. Now, the child feels the intent from the parent to stop it from grieving. So what's its next port of call? It's now afraid. It's now getting fears associated with its grief. It's now like every time I feel like crying, my mum and dad get violent with me, emotionally violent with me, right? As a child, you're not thinking these things consciously, but you can feel it, right? And so they're going, now I'm terrified to feel grief. What do I do now? Now we're on the addiction path, and now we're on the anger path, and now we're on the numb out path eventually. So there's children who have been so badly treated that by the time they're 5 years of old, they're already numb. But there's also children who have been badly treated but not gone that far. By the time they're 5 years old, they're like raging lunatics. Mm-hmm. Yeah?
And, a lot of times there's a lack of love in a child's environment where they're treated badly or suppressed, but they're also often taught to have expectations that they shouldn't have to feel sad, and that is that generates a lot of rage in kids, and as an adult, you still have to deal with that. The kid in you still has to unlearn that, learn God's truth about that. Yeah.